Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Let's Talk Movies. I'm Brad.
I'm Miguel.
Today, we are talking the DCEU. Now, for me, I don't know, man. The DCEU is a whole smorgasbord of emotions and feelings. There are things I love, and there are things that I'm not so fond of. How about you?
I am just lost with them. I have no clue what the hell is going on, to be honest. Every single morning, I literally go on Facebook and I just try to find any news, and it's just everywhere. But I'm still pretty excited about all the DCU stuff.
Yeah, it'll be different. So what we're going to kind of do tonight, we have a whole lot to talk about. There's a whole lot going on, and that's kind of part of one of the first things that I wanted to talk about is the fact that it's so clouded.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so much going on, with Marvel, and I'm going to try to not be one of those people that's like comparing Marvel to DC because it's like an apples to oranges kind of thing. You can't do it. Like it's
No.
not the same. They're not the same thing. So we're not going to sit here and pretend they are. But I'm going to compare them anyways. So, like, the thing with Marvel is I feel like what they've done with the MCU is linear in terms of the story, but it's also a huge universe and there's a whole lot going on. So, I think Marvel has their linear storyline, but they're also finding different ways to weave in and out of that storyline. With the DCEU, it just feels like they tried to throw everything in at once.
Yeah, I have an opinion on that too, because when the Incredible Hulk and Iron Man came out, like they were not expecting a universe. Like I don't know if you've seen, there's like plenty of like little Easter eggs that are in Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk that yeah, no, yep, I said that wrong. All right, I'm gone. But anyways, there were a lot of Easter eggs in those movies that were just there to be Easter eggs. They weren't there to tie anything in because they weren't expecting to make a universe. So like with the Marvel universe, like they weren't expecting it to be this big thing, but when they realized it, they were like, "Nope, let's do it. We're jumping on the gun. We got a good formula. Let's move forward." But I personally think with the DCU, um, they're just trying to use the formula that Marvel has, and they didn't execute it right. But I think they're trying to redeem themselves right now. I think they realize the formula doesn't work for them.
And I agree with you. I think they're starting to find their way.
Mm-hmm.
I think, with Justice League, I remember watching Justice League for the first time, and I was just I was so ripped out of the movie for some reason. You know what I mean? I just, if you look at Marvel, I think if they had an idea that they were making a universe when Iron Man and when the Incredible Hulk came out, I don't think they envisioned the scale that it's become and what it's become.
I agree wholeheartedly.
And I mean, I'm not saying Marvel's perfect. I'm not saying DC is perfect. I think both of them have their flaws. I think both of them have their strengths. I just think for me, personally, I feel like every single member of the Justice League should have gotten a solo movie before they did Justice League.
At least, like, I would have loved a Cyborg movie, a Flash movie, along with Superman and Batman. Like, that would have been dope.
Yeah.
And then you just add Wonder Woman and all these other people in.
Right.
But they just like went straight for the gut.
Well, I think the only one that really got a solo movie before they started combining characters was Superman with Man of Steel.
Yep, pretty much.
I think that was obviously Wonder Woman has had 2 solo movies now, but Wonder Woman came out after BVS did.
It did?
It came out after BVS.
Oh, I didn't even remember that. Like I
Yep,
said, like the timeline is just weird with them.
yeah, and it just, I think the fact that they rushed it has made the whole thing clouded and lukewarm. It's just, they could have had a good thing, and I think they just rushed it. But again, with that being said, I think they're finding their path. I think with Joker, I think with the Batman, they've realized something that Marvel has not, and I think Marvel is just now starting to realize with the Spider-Verse thing. They can go back and tell Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man story. They can do another sequel.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're
They
talking about with
can,
yeah.
with Michael Keaton being in the Flash. Like,
Mhm.
DC has figured out that, like, it doesn't have to be a linear path like the MCU has. Like,
Mhm.
they can have different universes that interact with each other or not interact with each other. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
hell, we're going to have 3 different versions of Batman at the same time. I mean, you're going to have Robert Pattinson in Matt Reeves' film. You're going to have Batfleck, which, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this, and you're going to be pissed. I know all of our listeners are going to be pissed. Ben Affleck is my least favorite Batman. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
that's a
He
it's
just
okay to be
is.
wrong, my guy. I'm sorry. I mean, he's kind of I liked him as Batman. I
I
think my
should I shouldn't say he's my least favorite, but I think
Nah,
Robert
man.
Pattinson is going to
Let's not
blow
forget
him out
about
of the
Nipple
water.
Batman. Let's not forget about Nipple Batman,
The
okay?
nipple suit,
Those yeah, let's
the
not forget
bat
about
nipple.
those. Yeah.
Was that in that was Batman Forever, right?
Yeah, that was George Clooney's, and I think it was also Val Kilmer's bat suit,
They had bat
which
nipples in both of them.
I'm almost certain. Because you remember how they used to like, no, you remember, like whenever they're like suiting up and they're like doing all those like
Mm-hmm.
quick things, and like, why did you show the one? Why'd you do a supercut of him putting on and and it's just his nipple? I was like,
But it was all of
why?
them, dude. It was him, Robin. It was Catwoman. Like, it shows Catwoman's butt. And it's like super like tropey superhero stuff where they're like, it's like weird
Exactly.
sound effects and everything. It's like, why did you need to do this? Um, but yeah, and then it had Arnold as the Arnold Schwarzenegger's
Oh
the
god.
freeze. Remember,
I
ice,
hope he.
ice.
I hope he forgets that. I hope he forgot about doing that movie. I'm not gonna lie.
We we need to forget that ever happened. But they're fun too. I say that, but I enjoy watching them.
Yeah, when I saw them do the bat skates, I was like, okay, there's no way in hell Bruce Wayne ever thought, you know what my boots need? Skates.
Well,
Yeah, ice skates.
I want to know the guy who designed that suit for George Clooney. I want to know who the hell thought, you know what? I know. I know what it needs. It needs nipples. Give it nipples. Bat nipples. That's what it needs.
Oh my god. I would die if that man either got a raise. He probably did get a raise. The guy was just like, that's it. That's it. Give him a
That's
raise, man.
funny.
That's a brilliant idea. But we're talking
Um,
about old Batman. I'm sorry, guys. We're talking about the
we
actual
are.
DC.
We're talking about Michael Keaton Batman. But anyways, I think that DC is figuring out that they can tell different stories and they can have different versions of the same character and still be successful. I think Marvel was afraid to do
Mhm.
that for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like they didn't want to include all the other movies.
Right.
Like they were afraid to bring them in because they didn't do well or they didn't end well in the box office. But they started realizing how much each one of them become like cult classics, I guess. You could
Yeah.
say that, right?
Yeah,
Because even
I'd
though they
agree with
like
that.
yeah, so but I mean, yeah, they were kind of afraid to go into that. But then I think I guess some guy had a brilliant idea. I'm sure that man got a raise. They're like, why don't we bring in all of these other superheroes, like all the other Spider-Mans? And they're like, yeah, that's perfect. Like we have a Spider-Verse literally sitting at our front door.
Yeah. Well, and part of it is that moolah. They want to make that dough.
Yeah.
And they know when Tobey Maguire walks out, if he walks out at the end of WandaVision, or if they show him and Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland in the same room, all in their perspective Spider-Man suit,
Yeah.
people are going to go to the bank, take out a loan, and throw it at Disney. They know that will happen. So
Yeah.
I think they're realizing that they can do that. And I think they will go back and tell Toby's story and Andrew's story and continue on with this main MCU line. And I think they will do that with Michael Keaton being back as Batman. I don't know that we'll get another solo Keaton Batman film, but I think it wouldn't surprise me if we saw Michael Keaton play kind of a big role in this Flash film.
Oh yeah, I could totally see that happening.
Yeah.
And I think they also made I heard news that they were going to make the Michael Keaton the main DCEU Batman, though. Didn't I hear that in the news?
I think that was debunked, though. I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
I don't think
Well, what's
that's gonna
going on
happen.
right now with the DCU? Let's get into that.
So, basically we've had, what is that? We've had Man of Steel, BVS, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Aquaman, Shazam. I didn't see Shazam. Did you?
I did. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I need to watch Shazam. I haven't seen that one. And then Wonder Woman 84. So that's 7 movies in the DCEU. And then coming up, we've got The Suicide Squad, which that looks dope. I'm stacked cast. I think that's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, for sure. And
you know what
since
I mean?
and James Gunn is directing it too, which James Gunn is he's a phenomenal director too.
Yeah, James Gunn got a lot of shit a while ago for something he said on Twitter 8 years ago. And I mean, let's be real. He's a great director. I think he has done amazing things with the Guardians of the Galaxy films. I think he's a good director. And I mean, I'm not saying, what you say matters, obviously, but I'm excited for what he does with the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that whole thing. I mean, yeah, it sucked, but it gave him an opportunity, which was direct Suicide Squad, which I'm sure he did a killer job on. So
yeah,
I'm grateful that he did it, and now that he's back with the MCU, that's even better.
Yeah, definitely. And then after the Suicide Squad, this is 2022, The Flash, which is where Keaton's supposed to make his big return. An untitled Aquaman sequel, Shazam: Fury of the Gods in 2023.
If you saw the movie, you understand why it's called that.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. And then Black Adam, and then they've already announced a 3rd Wonder Woman movie. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think Wonder Woman is their strongest asset right now. In the main DCU timeline, I think she is their best asset. I really do.
I can see that because, I mean, both of her movies have been absolute hits so far. I mean, I haven't heard many bad reviews about Wonder Woman 88. I know you had some choice words about it, but I mean, other than that, I haven't heard anything else in the mainstream.
Yeah, you've seen Wonder Woman 84, right?
Bits and pieces. I'm sorry, man.
Well, you ought to check it out.
Yeah, well, it's a long movie though, isn't it?
It's 2 hours long. It's pretty long.
Golly, you guys, we got to chill out with 2 hour long movies.
So let's talk a little bit more about Keaton returning. He will be in the Flash solo film in 2022. The director said that this movie is going to go where the DC universe hasn't gone before, which, I mean, he flat out said it's a multiverse film. Basically saying that, audiences are sophisticated enough to understand that this is a multiverse thing, that they're going to be able to make the connection between the 89 Batman that Tim Burton directed plus what's going on here and the fact that it's multiple universes colliding. So, I mean, he straight up said that, which it kind of gives you the guidelines of the plot where they're going, but it doesn't give you too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would love for them to do to bring back that Tim Burton-esque into it.
Yeah.
They would have to at least bring Tim Burton into the fold. Be like, what can you do for us in the DCU? Yeah.
Well, and then that begs the question: is Keaton coming into this timeline, or is the Flash going into that Tim Burton timeline?
Exactly. That's what I'm worried about.
You know, it would be really cool.
What?
I would love to see them do a Batman Beyond story with Michael Keaton's Batman. That would be dope. That would be cool. Now, they're not going to do that with the Flash movie because it's a Flash movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're going to do Batman Beyond, they need to do Batman Beyond. But that's what I'm saying. DC has a leg up on Marvel right now because they can do that and be successful with it. You know what I mean? Like, they can have him cross over into this main timeline, but they could do a Batman Beyond movie if they wanted to.
They
You
really
know?
could, yeah.
And it would be, I would pay to go see it. I think that'd be dope. You know
Oh,
what I
obviously,
mean?
I'll pay big bucks to see that. And
Uh,
I mean, at first I thought they were just gonna copy off MCU because when they found out they're doing a multiverse, they're like, oh, well, then I guess we got to do a multiverse. But I think they got a good formula going on with that whole thing.
yeah.
And if they do a Batman Beyond, like everyone's gonna want to go see it. Not many people know about the Batman Beyond. The mainstream media doesn't really know about it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think Batman Beyond was cool. I remember watching Batman Beyond as a kid.
I thought that was Bruce Wayne. When I was young, I thought that was Bruce Wayne. I didn't really remember Batman Beyond. I
Yeah.
do remember like the show, but I just thought that was just Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. I mean, that would have to be a whole other can of Easter eggs to open up and crack, I mean, that would be a big deal if they were to do that. So
Oh yeah.
I'm sure Michael Keaton would want some big old bucks for, you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
that would be a really big deal for the DCU. So I would love to see something like that. So let's talk about the Snyder Cut. I know that's coming out this year. They've already said the Snyder Cut will be released into 4 parts.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be 4, I assume, like an hour long for each parts. It's like, I think I remember reading, it's something like a $70 million assembly edit for that movie. Like, just to edit it, it's going to be that much money. Because from what I understand, they're like editing the entire movie. Like, they're repiecing everything that they shot together, plus the additional stuff that they shot for it back in October.
This is like the Snyder Cut sounds like it's going to be a completely different movie.
It will.
Like
I think it's
far
going to
from
be.
the Joss Whedon. I mean, that's kind of dope. Many director's cut that I've seen. I mean, they all of them kind of look similar to the direct. I can't even say that. The theater cut, but this one just sounds like they literally just threw the Joss Whedon thing in the trash. And they're like, okay, let's just make this movie completely over again.
But I think they did, and I don't know. I'm not sure if there's bad blood with Joss Whedon. I don't know what I'm saying. But I think they're gonna use the Snyder Cut as the Justice League in the main timeline. I think they're rendering Joss Whedon's
they're
Justice
retconning.
League. Like, that's not gonna matter anymore. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be like some of those later Halloween sequels where like they exist, but they don't matter right now. They don't matter in this current timeline of like what's releasing. And I'm kind of all for it. I mean, I think, obviously it was really sad and tragic what happened to Zack Snyder. And I hate that, they had to boot him off or he had to leave. But I'm happy that he's getting his second shot. And I think the fact that the Snyder Cut is actually happening is going to open a door. I mean, obviously I'm sure you own some director's cuts of movies or producer's cut. Like if all Halloween fans know, like Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, there's 2 different versions of it. There's the theatrical cut, but there's the producer's cut. And they're slightly different, but it's a completely different ending. So it's like a choose your own adventure. You know what I mean? I think the fact that people campaigned for the Snyder Cut as hard as they did is going to open up a door. And we are going to get different cuts of movies. Now, obviously, they're only going to pick one to theatrically release. I mean, obviously we know that. But I think, even 5 years after a release, we've been talking a lot about Godzilla versus Kong. That just got moved up. 5 years after Godzilla versus Kong releases, you could get a completely different edit of the film, which is crazy to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think it's mainly it's opening a door for like fan-based movies. You know what I mean? Like that's coming up a lot more. Like the studios are starting to listen more to the fans because they know what they want to see.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, I don't know. Part of the problem with films that, I know part of the problem that I have, especially with a lot of horror films, is that like when the studio gets involved, you have a director
Mm-hmm.
and a writer, and they have a vision, and they make that vision come to life. But then once they're done filming and editing, not even editing, once they're done filming, they hand it over to the studio. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's the studio's will. They make it, what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, obviously they follow the script, but, I mean, look at some of the deleted scenes. I mean, have you ever watched a deleted scene from a movie and been like, God, I wish that was still in there.
Oh yeah,
Like
plenty.
I wish I could take that 3-minute clip and throw it back in the movie, because it would make it so much better. It would make it make sense.
Mm-hmm.
It fills in
Yeah.
gaps. So
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to be an opportunity where, we're going to get uncut films where it's going to have all the deleted scenes in it. I don't know, man. I think it's just going to open a door to all of these other movies that are going to,
I think
have
it's
their
gonna
own
give
cut.
I think it's gonna give the directors more leeway. You know what I mean? I think the studios are gonna
Yes.
like kind of take a back
Yes.
seat to the creation of these movies because they're starting to realize like a lot of the studios are messing up these movies because they're like removing all these scenes that they think they take too much time out of
Absolutely.
the movie. I'm like, no, that's not how that works. We want to see these
Yeah.
scenes.
And I'm not saying deleting scenes is bad. I mean, I know, then again, there's some scenes where it's like, that wouldn't have contributed anything. Like, it's just a waste of time. We
Yeah.
talked about that. Like I told you in Wonder Woman 84, I think they could have cut 20 minutes out of that movie. And I liked it. It wasn't bad. But there were
Yeah.
just, there's so many scenes where I'm like, why, we don't need this. Like, this isn't like pushing the story forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't
And
know.
I agree.
I think the fact that, with that hashtag release the Snyder Cut, and how hard fans campaigned and pushed to get this thing out is kind of a big deal. And I think fans should be proud of that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. And like that Snyder Cut, release the Snyder Cut thing, that was I don't know how many months. That was
It was an
that was a few
ongoing
months.
thing.
Yeah. It was
Yeah,
a
it lasted a
campaign.
while.
I saw so many memes and everything. It was just ridiculous. I
Yeah.
would, if I could, I would like. I can't remember all of them, but there's a couple of them that really made me laugh.
And then, I remember hearing Zack Snyder talk about, or I was reading an interview about Zack Snyder talking about this, and he said, it's going to explore more of the backstory. They're going to build up these worlds a little bit more, which is what it needs. That's what DC
Yes.
needs. They jumped into Justice League so fast, and so I just felt like it was blind. Like they didn't take the time to build the world and to build the mythology before they just hopped right in. I mean, it was just like there was no time to absorb anything, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, guys. This is Milo, by the way. He wants to be in the podcast, but he also loves MCU more than DCU. Just saying. Sorry. This show is pretty much just a DCU rant. Sorry, guys.
no, I mean, I wouldn't even say it's a rant. I like DC. I like a lot of what they're doing.
Oh, I love DC. I love the comics. I love the animated universe and all that. The animated universe is doing a phenomenal job
yeah,
with it.
yeah. I will say that the DC TV shows have always rocked it. I
Yeah.
mean, they are on it.
Without a
So,
doubt. But with the whole DCU stuff, like I really hope that they have a good plan for what's to come because I think the Snyder Cut's going to be a starting off point for creating the universe and
yeah,
doing it right.
right.
And I think with we need to get another Man of Steel coming out like
Yes.
soon. Like I know Henry Cavill did his hardest to be the Man of Steel, and almost everyone can agree that Henry Cavill is probably one of the best Supermans out there.
I would say he is the best Superman.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I
And
think he was good.
yeah, and then they got to figure out what they're gonna do with the Batman. My friend is a diehard Batman, and like I feel like she would give like a hard topic on all the Batmans that's come out.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I don't think this Matt Reeves film is going to be related to the Snyder Cut and stuff at all.
Probably not. It's gonna be like a one-off with the Joker.
I don't even
Which
know if it's going to be a one-off. I think honestly, we're moving into the Batman anyways, so that's kind of a perfect like transition. Um, I think the Batman is their shining star right now. That is the DC project that I am most looking forward to. I am stoked to see this movie. I just showed Julia the trailer a little bit ago, because she hadn't seen it yet, and just rewatching it, I think this is where DC needs to go. Now, again,
Dark and gritty.
Yeah, I like Wonder Woman. I like what, I like the way they're moving with the Suicide Squad, but Joker I thought was great. It was different. They kind of pushed boundaries a little bit.
They did.
You know what I mean?
Without a doubt, a whole lot of boundaries.
That's one thing that I wish Marvel would do a little bit more. I mean, obviously Marvel's owned by Disney, so I don't think we're gonna get.
But they're stepping into the R-rated stuff. I think
they are gonna step into the R-rated stuff, and I think what we're gonna see with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, that's gonna play a big role in, like, will they execute it well?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm curious to see how Marvel handles it. But, looking at The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves, March 24th, 2022, obviously we don't know the plot yet. I think this is going to be one of the coolest superhero movies ever made. And I'm gonna say that because I know that's some big old, I just said something real big. But here's the thing. We've never, we got Watchmen.
That has a small undertone of The Watchmen. The Watchmen was a pretty dark and gritty. Like, it was pretty rough.
It does. And you know what this makes me think of, like the trailer for The Batman? It makes me think of Seven. Have you seen Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman?
Oh, okay, I got you. I was thinking of something else, but no, I haven't seen it. Sorry, guys.
Seven is it's like a true crime movie. I mean, I won't spoil the plot, but basically Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman are two detectives, and they're trying to hunt a serial killer who kills based on the 7 deadly sins.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so dark and so creepy and eerie, and like it's it kind of makes you feel like you need to take a shower when you're done. You know what I mean? I think this is going to be that. It's going to be like a psychological crime thriller, which is what we need. I think that's where Batman needs to be. You know what I mean? As much as I love the Dark Knight trilogy, I mean, The Dark Knight is in my top 10 favorite movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Christopher Nolan approached the Dark Knight trilogy way differently than Matt Reeves is approaching this Batman film, and way differently than they approached Joker. My hope is that we get kind of a more raw, realistic approach to the characters in this Batman movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's a young Batman too.
And it's a young Batman, yeah. And I mean, even if you look at when he removes the cowl in the trailer, he's got the black eye makeup that's kind of like sweaty and stuff. I mean, it looks raw and gritty. And I hope we get kind of a psychological, I want to see the toll it takes on Bruce Wayne of being Batman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Christopher Nolan did kind of do that, but not to that extent.
Right, but not to this extent.
Mm-hmm. And I'm really confident that Matt Reeves will play like a really dark and gritty atmosphere of Batman, which is what we need. And I want him to explore his like legitimate like detective skills.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I want to see him in that detective light. The Dark Knight trilogy was almost a little bit futuristic with the kind of technology and stuff that he had. I don't necessarily want to see all the technology and all the crazy stuff. Like, I want to see him using his brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
His brain and his fists. Like, that's what I want to see. And I mean, and you've seen the trailer for that, right?
Yeah.
At the end, when Batman's got the no kill rule. Well, he's not going to kill him, but he's going to give them permanent brain damage. They're going to be like sipping kale through a straw for the rest of their life. Like that, you know what I mean? I mean, it just, that's what I think we need. And I hope that they cross Joker over with this movie.
They have to. Did you see the guy? Like, he absolutely like tore apart in that trailer. I mean, they have like makeup and like
Yeah.
the smiley face. So it's obviously there is a Joker crowd in there, because I can't think of any other group or gang from any of the other villains that wear makeup.
Yeah,
The
and
Penguin's crew doesn't.
I don't necessarily want to see um I don't necessarily want to see Joker in this movie. I think there's
Mm-mm.
enough going on. There's enough villains. They need to, again, what DC has never done. They need to set the world up first.
Yeah.
They need to drop you into that world and let you absorb what's happening before they throw Justice League at you.
Yeah.
You know. So I'm hoping that it's a realistic kind of how the Tim Burton films were dark. Now
It was.
they
It
weren't
was. It was like
realistic. They
a.
were still almost a little toony, but they were
Yes.
still dark. It was
Hmm.
gothic. You know what I mean? This is like emo Batman. You know?
Yeah,
Um,
very much. This Batman basically listens to My Chemical Romance when he's beating criminals.
yeah.
Almost certain of that.
So obviously Robert Pattinson is playing Batman. Andy Serkis is playing Alfred, which I think is an awesome choice. It's
Hmm.
a younger
Yeah.
Alfred. Zoe Kravitz is Catwoman. Colin Farrell is the Penguin, which
Have
is a
you
cool
seen?
choice.
Have you seen his like makeup and all that? They did a bomb job with that,
I
man.
don't think I've seen it. I haven't
He
seen a picture of it.
looks like the Penguin.
Really?
Like, obviously not the Tim Burton one, obviously, but
Well, yeah.
which I mean, Danny DeVito did a hilarious
Yeah,
job on it. I
I
loved it.
still love Danny DeVito in that movie.
Hmm.
I think it's
But
great.
there's a funny story you got to hear about Danny DeVito's uh time when he was playing the Penguin. Have you heard of that?
No.
You got to watch it. It has something to do with like uh him playing as a penguin, and there's supposed to be a monkey and whatnot, and there was a mishap with the monkey and Danny DeVito. You got to watch it. It's hilarious. Guys, if you have seen this story, please put it down in the comments and just tell how hilarious it is. And then if you haven't, go check it out. Just look up Danny DeVito monkey Batman. Hilarious story. But back to the Matt Reeves. They did a really phenomenal job with transforming him into the penguin. Like, I don't know what they did, fat suit, prosthetics, the whole 9 yards. And I'm excited to see how he goes with that, because I haven't seen a decent I haven't seen Penguin live action since Tim Burton.
Mm-hmm.
There
It's
wasn't a
been that
penguin.
long.
Yeah, there wasn't a penguin in Christopher Nolan's.
Nope.
Yep. There was only Scarecrow, uh Ra's al Ghul, and Bane and Joker, which
Right.
are all like great characters, but the Penguin is just I enjoy seeing the Penguin, like his storyline and like all the other like Batman Arkham series, Tim Burton's, and in the comics, they're all great. So
Right.
I always wanted to see a live action one.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is if you've played the Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight games,
Mhm.
I love those games. I played through Arkham City probably 3 or 4 times. It was a really
Yes.
fun game. I think this is going to be kind of along the same line of that, where it's like a detective, but he's solving crime with his fist. You know what I mean? Like that's how.
he said, he said he's solving crime with his fist. Like, okay, my guy, jeez.
um, so the one that really excites me is Paul Dano playing the Riddler.
Yeah. And again, the Riddler is a great character.
Well, and it's a different take on him. Like at the beginning of the trailer when he's like with the duct tape and shit.
Did they confirm that that was the Riddler?
I'm pretty sure that's him.
I have a good idea that that could be someone else. I
Really?
think, yeah, because you see how his face is all covered up.
Yeah,
Like
but
I
that's
was
what
under
I
the
mean. I think it's a different take on him.
I I don't think I think the Riddler's obviously going to be like the main like antagonist in this movie, but I think the character that was in that one that has to be Hush. Do you know who Hush is?
Yeah.
Hush is the guy that
It could be.
I think it has to be. I mean, obviously it has to be, but I could be wrong, guys. But whenever I saw that, I was like, oh, that's dope. They're introducing all these other new characters, and I'm excited for it. Like I
It,
want to see all the like the dark criminals, like Hush, um, the Riddler. Who else? There's another one that I saw. It was Puppet Master. It was someone in the Arkham series. If you guys have played the Arkham series, you know what I'm talking about. In Arkham City, like I want to see those characters. Like those are
Yeah,
like really like psychologically terrifying criminals. Like it messes with your head. So like I want to see those come in, and I
definitely.
want to see that Batman, this Batman, and Matt Reeves use his detective works to solve those crimes,
I
which
mean,
is what I think is going to happen.
would you be disappointed if that was the Joker, or not the Joker, the Riddler?
No, obviously not. Like I'm sure I would love that'd be dope either way, but I just want to see more of those smaller, darker characters because we don't need to like propel this into like the DCU stuff. Like let's start off small.
Yeah.
Let's deal with all these like small time criminals and then we build up to these big time movie antagonists.
Then you
Like,
build up to like Joker.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I'm sure Joker would be the last one that they could touch on because I think that these uh smaller antagonists, like these are like great characters that they could just open a whole new world up for Batman.
Yeah. And I mean, you also have like Carmine Falcone's going to be in there. John Turturro, I think that's how you say his name, Turturro. He's playing Falcone.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Wright is playing Gordon. I mean, it's a really talented cast. Like that was the first thing that like hit me in the Ganges when I first like saw the cast.
Wait, what?
I don't know. It
Hit me
just
in the
it's I
Ganges?
don't know. It just struck me like when I saw that cast list and when it really like sunk in like who is playing who. I mean, it's very different. Like I remember when they announced Robert Pattinson is playing Bruce Wayne, I was like, no, this is going to be crap. This is going to be
Nah,
boring.
you.
It's not good. But it's like then I thought about it and I rewatched the trailer a couple times and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is going to work. Like it's going to
For
be
sure.
really good,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I think Robert Pattinson's a really good actor. I think part of the problem with him is Twilight. You know what I
Look,
mean?
he's I kind of I compare him with Zac Efron, which obviously he's embedded with High School Musical. For he's going to be
Yeah.
reminded of the whole High School Musical thing, but he's grown himself into be a solid actor over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And now with Robert Pattinson, I mean, yeah, he did Twilight, and yeah, obviously, like all the high school relationships I've been to, they were all into Twilight. So, but as he progressed more so on, like when you saw him in what's the newest one that I'm talking about? The Devil All the Time, which you still got to watch. It's a
I know. I
great
need to see
movie.
that movie.
Robert Pattinson in that movie, he's pretty dope. Like this, where's this man from, anyways? He's not from the U.S.
I'm not sure. I think he's from England. I
Yeah,
think.
but he does a pretty spot on job with the whole because it's in like the movie The Devil All the Time is set in like Virginia, West Virginia. So like they have like it's an entirely different environment. It's out of his element. But he went in there and he killed it with Tom Holland. And there's another one I'm thinking of, and it's on Netflix. I forgot what it's called, but he did a great job there too. And I want to see Tenet because I'm sure he did a great job in that one too.
Oh yeah, I saw Tenet was good. It was
So he's a
weird, but
solid actor.
it's a Christopher Nolan movie. I mean, of course it's
Yeah,
good.
pretty
You know what I
much.
mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I really like at the end of the trailer that if you are justice, please please do not lie. Like it's cool. It sounds cool, man. I'm just really excited for the Batman. I'm
hmm
really excited to see where they take it. And again, I don't want to see Joker in it, but I would like to see a tease for Joker at the end. I
I
would
want
almost think, what if, dude, what about this? What if Batman loses? Like
in
hard.
this movie.
Yeah. What if he doesn't like, typically you beat the villains, you win. It's
hmm
their like story of rising up. What if he doesn't like meet the mark? Like people die, he doesn't, maybe he kills the Riddler. But I mean, you got the Penguin, you got Falcone, you got Catwoman. I mean, there's whoever those guys were in the white and black face paint. You know what I mean? I just,
Yeah,
what if we see him fail and that sets up the next movie? You know what I mean?
absolutely. And
Bec-
because I don't know if you've read the storyline of year one of Batman, but he gets absolutely tore apart in the movie. Obviously, he prevails too, but like in that comic, like he gets battered up. Like I want to
Yeah,
see this Batman get battered up and still try and survive. And I like that theory that you have with maybe he loses. I don't want them to kill off um, the Riddler because they pretty much did that. And Christopher Nolan's, they killed off every single one of them,
yeah.
besides the Joker, obviously. But they killed off
Rip
every
Heath
single one of
Ledger.
them. Yeah, R.I.P. But I think that if they want to make this Matt Reeves movie go on forward, like they can't kill off the Riddler in this movie. Like he has to obviously have
That's
escaped
fair.
and just give Batman hell. Obviously he solves whatever he's doing, but keep him alive because I know he's for him to come back later on, it would be absolutely amazing. I
Yeah.
want cliffhangers in this movie. Like
Mm,
solid if the main villain is the Riddler, I want to leave that movie mind fucked pretty much.
yeah. Well, and I think trying to think how to put this. I don't necessarily think they're going to do what the Dark Knight did, which I don't know, because the Dark Knight had the Joker and Two-Face. The Dark Knight Rises had Catwoman. It had Bane. It had a couple of villains in it. It had Talia al Ghul,
Mm.
so I don't know. I shouldn't say that it's going to have one villain, but I mean, where this has several villains, I don't think they're going to do a Batman film just with Batman and the Joker
Mm-hmm.
because that's not the universe they're setting up. I swear with these movies, it's all about the world that they build. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And with this movie, I think Matt Reeves is building a world where all of these villains and all of these characters are like interconnected. You know what I mean? What the
Yeah.
Penguin does is going to affect what the Riddler does, and that's going to affect how Batman tries to apprehend them and try to stop them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Batman's going to kill in this?
Nah, I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah, because he's young. He still lives by his code and all that jazz.
Just
Who
permanent
was
brain
it?
damage?
Yeah, just get for brain damage. Have you guys
Concussion
played a?
protocol for the rest of the
Have
season?
you have you seen a? Have you played the Injustice storyline?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, like there is a scene where Batman and Robin are like breaking into a prison, and Batman just like tears these two criminals up, and then Robin was like, "So you don't kill, but you'll give them brain damage," and Batman was like, "Yeah, pretty much. They're
Yeah,
still breathing, ain't they?" So yeah,
there you go.
I want the Batman where he's like absolutely tearing people apart,
Mm.
but not killing. There's a meme that I saw where it talked about like it like set the scene of like a side criminal just piling bags of money into the car, and he's only doing that to like feed his family. But then Batman comes over here and just breaks both of his legs. He's like, he's just trying to do his thing, man. Like he doesn't deserve his legs to be broken.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of the deal with this is, these people are psychopaths. I mean, obviously, the Joker is a complete psychopath based on the
Yeah.
version we're dealing with now with Joaquin Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the Riddler is going to be a complete psychopath serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm sure the Penguin will kind of have more of his gangstery kind of feel. You know what I mean? Falcone's going to
Yeah.
have that Italian gangster feel. Um, but I think at least the trailer did a really good job of making it look like Batman is, Bruce Wayne is kind of mentally scarred a little bit. He doesn't seem like he's in a real great place mentally. And like I feel like what's going to be happening with these villains is going to bring out his anger and like the brutalness of,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, watching his parents die, you know? I think in a way they're going to fuel his fire of him being so pissed off and ready to go, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think with this one, like he's obviously not okay. Like you can tell from the trailer
Yeah.
that he is still suffering a whole lot of childhood trauma from what's happened to him. And I think in this movie, like it's not gonna. I don't think this movie with Matt Reeves is gonna show him become, the Batman that we all know. It's still
Right.
gonna show him as still like brutally scarred, still trying to work on himself and all that, trying to figure out who he is still, because I think this is still a young Batman.
Like you said, Batman Year One.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's still figuring out his stuff. He still is recovering, but he's trying to be a superhero. And I think, yeah, I agree with you. Like he might piss the bed in this movie a few times. He
Well,
might mess up a lot.
and I kind of want them to do what they did with Spider-Man Homecoming, which is kind of ironic because I wasn't crazy about Spider-Man Homecoming the way they told his story,
Hmm.
where it didn't have a backstory. But in this movie, I don't need to see his parents getting shot. I don't need to see him growing up and finding the cave and Alfred trying to raise him. I don't need that. Like, I want to see him as Batman from the get-go. Now, you can flashback sometimes. You can show him like coming up with the idea and realizing like this is what he wants to do. He wants to fight crime. He wants to do the right thing.
Hmm.
But like even at the end of the trailer when he's standing there, I don't know who he's talking to, um, but he says, like, how am I a part of this? And it shows his face. I mean, he looks a combination of like sad, like he's about to cry, but it's like, that angry cry that kids do when like they're crying, but they're about to like rip your head off at the same time.
Yeah, I
Like
know that one.
that's how
Yeah,
that's how he looks. Like, I don't know. I'm hoping that we see his past trauma come out in this. I think that'll be it'll be an interesting side that we haven't gotten to see before.
exactly. And with all the other Batmans that we've seen, he's already his what's it called? His charismatic
Yeah.
self. Like I don't think I'm gonna see a charismatic uh, Bruce Wayne in this movie
No.
because he's still young and still suffering from what happened. And
No.
I'm excited. I'm wholeheartedly excited to see how this Bruce Wayne goes out because, yeah, I'm excited for how Batman goes throughout the city, but seeing how he acts as Bruce Wayne is going to be an
Yes.
entirely different Bruce Wayne that we've seen.
Yep. And Christian Bale, I thought Christian Bale did a real bang up job. He's, as of now, I think Christian Bale is my favorite Batman. Uh,
Hmm.
but his was more of an arrogant billionaire dickhead Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? Like, he was a good guy, but he was also like, I could, like, when you're at the party, his version of Bruce Wayne is like, hey, all of them women, I could have every single one of them. You know what I mean? Like, it was like that kind of thing. Like, I think this is going to be a much different incarnation of Bruce Wayne. And I'm
Yeah.
also curious to see how Andy Serkis and Robert Pattinson, like, their relationship and their chemistry, and how Alfred, is kind of trying to help him. Because, like, I mean, let's all agree here. Alfred is one of the best parts of the whole Batman franchise.
Yes,
He
without a
just
doubt.
is. I
Yeah.
mean, you have villains you don't like. You have versions of Batman you don't like. Think of one version of Alfred you don't like.
None.
You can't. They were all
Yeah.
great. They all did a fantastic job, and they fit perfectly in that story. So I think Andy Serkis is going to do a great job. He's a good actor. Um, did you know he did the motion capture for Peter Jackson's King Kong? He played Kong.
Yeah, I knew that. Andy
Yeah,
Serkis, I'm thinking the right one now. Andy Serkis is like he's one of the motion captures icons. He's done
yeah.
almost every single motion capture. He did what's his name? Jeez. Planet of the Apes. He did that.
Yep, he was Caesar. You're right.
Yeah. Yep, he was Caesar.
I remember seeing. It's kind of funny. He's played two gorillas, but they probably did that because I remember reading for Peter Jackson's King Kong, he like studied gorilla movements and stuff. I mean, like he like took notes. They went to like zoos and worked with trainers. I mean, he studied like how gorillas move, which I think is all dope. I mean, that's really cool. So I don't know. I think they're very diverse actors that they've picked for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, every single one of them are great at what they do in particular.
Very wide range of emotion.
Hmm. Yep.
So I'm really excited for the Batman. That's the project I'm most looking forward to out of all of this.
Yeah, same.
So
And what's hilarious is that it's not yet confirmed that this is part of the DCEU.
I know, and I don't think it's gonna be. I think this is gonna be the same thing as Michael Keaton. I mean, you're gonna have the main timeline with Justice League and Wonder Woman and
Mm-hmm.
Batfleck Batman. You're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have, well, really, Michael Keaton is going to kind of be a part of the main timeline. I think
Yeah,
this is going to be like Joker. This is going to be its own separate thing. It's going to have nothing to do with the main timeline of the DCEU.
rightfully so, honestly.
And I don't think it should. Like I said, I think this is where DC is going to find their stride in doing these dark, gritty stories.
Because that's what they've always been good at, to be honest.
Yeah.
I always went to the DC because of its dark and gritty undertones.
Yeah.
As compared to Marvel, which I do like Marvel, they have some really dark, gritty Marvel comics too. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's mainly more lighter than the DC.
Yeah. So, as we get ready to close, man, what do you want to see out of the DCEU moving forward?
I want to see, honestly, Black Adam. I'm excited
Yeah.
for Black Adam. I love The Rock. He's a great actor, and just knowing that he's going to be a villain, which is kind of unheard of. I haven't seen
Yeah.
The Rock play as a villain. Actually, Pain and Gain, I guess, but he's more of an idiot in that movie.
That's fair.
But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I don't think he's played a villain so far.
yeah, so it's gonna be exciting to see how it is. Obviously, he's gonna be an anti-hero, kind of
Yeah.
like Eddie Brock's Venom.
Yep.
So I could almost see him being more of an anti-hero in future projects. But yeah, I'm more excited for that one. Again, I just want to see the DCEU formulate their own thing, because you can't make a successful project by copying whatever someone else did.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to do, and I think they realized that really quick. And I think they caught it, and they're on a good track right now.
Absolutely, man. I completely agree. I want to see them take time and build up the worlds, whatever timeline, whatever universe they're working in. I want them to take the time, even if you have to stretch it across 3 sequels or 4
Mm-hmm.
sequels. Take the time to build the world. Don't try to throw in 19 characters
Mm-hmm.
in the first movie. You know what I mean? Because that's not. I don't know. It hasn't worked in the past. I don't want to see them copy Marvel and try to be this, lighthearted adventure thing. And I'm not saying Marvel's lighthearted. I mean, Endgame wasn't lighthearted. You know what I mean? What we're gonna have with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, that's not gonna be lighthearted. But you know what I'm talking about, where it's not going to have this dark grittiness that Joker had, or that the Batman is going to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to see DC stick to what they do well, and I just want to see them kind of keep trying to build their universes and not rush it. Just let the chips fall where they may. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to it. Guys, thank you so much for listening with us. Be sure to find us on Twitter and Instagram at We Talk the Movies. New episodes drop every Monday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will have a couple more videos popping out here on our YouTube channel, so be sure to click that subscribe button. And we will talk to you guys soon. Peace.
Yeah. Take care, guys.